Have you ever read a Bible story that made you stop and go, wait, what just happened? A story so intense, so raw, that it almost feels out of place? Today, we're diving into one of those stories. It involves a prophet, a group of unruly youths, and 2 bears. This isn't your typical Sunday school lesson. This is the story of Elisha and the bears from 2 Kings, chapter 2, and it carries a powerful, and perhaps unsettling, message about respect, authority, and divine justice. So, let's set the scene. The great prophet Elijah, a true giant of the faith, has just been taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, a fiery chariot marking his incredible departure. It's a massive event, a changing of the guard. His protege, Elisha, is now stepping into his shoes. Imagine the weight on Elisha's shoulders. He's just witnessed his mentor's miraculous exit and is now tasked with carrying on his legacy. He picks up Elijah's fallen mantle, a symbol of his new authority, and begins his own prophetic journey. His first acts are miraculous. He parts the Jordan River, just as Elijah had done, proving to the other prophets that the spirit of Elijah truly rests upon him. He then goes to Jericho and purifies the city's bitter water, a miracle that saves the land from barrenness. Elisha is clearly and publicly operating under God's power. He's not just some random guy, he is God's anointed representative on earth. This context is absolutely crucial for understanding what happens next. As Elisha is traveling from Jericho up to Bethel, a city known at the time for its idolatry and resistance to God, he encounters a group of youths. The Bible says a large group of boys or youths came out of the city. We're not talking about a handful of toddlers. The original Hebrew word suggests a group of young men, possibly teenagers or even in their early 20s, old enough to know better, and numerous enough to be a threatening mob. And what do? They begin to mock him. They don't just tease him a little. They start chanting, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head." Now, this might sound like simple, childish name-calling to our modern ears. But in that culture, it was deeply disrespectful and carried a much heavier meaning. First, bald head. In that era, baldness was often seen as a sign of shame or disease, like leprosy. Calling him a baldhead wasn't just a comment on his appearance, it was a deep-seated insult, an attempt to humiliate and degrade him. They were attacking his personal dignity. But the second part of the insult is even more significant: go on up. Where had Elijah just gone? Up, to heaven. By yelling, "Go on up, you bald head," they weren't just making fun of his lack of hair. They were mocking the very foundation of his prophetic authority. They were essentially saying, "Hey, if you're such a great prophet like Elijah, why don't you disappear into the sky too? We don't believe you. We don't respect you. We reject your God." It was a public, contemptuous dismissal of Elisha, and by extension, the God he served. They were challenging his legitimacy right after he had been divinely appointed. Imagine this scene. A lone man, grieving his mentor, walking into a hostile city, suddenly surrounded by a large, aggressive crowd, jeering and scorning not just him, but his sacred calling. This wasn't harmless fun. It was a volatile confrontation, a blatant act of rebellion against God's chosen messenger. So how does Elisha react? The Bible says he turned, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. He wasn't acting out of personal anger or vanity. He didn't say, "How dare you make fun of my hairline?" He invoked the name of Yahweh. He recognized this attack for what it was, an attack on God's honor. He was acting as a divine agent, defending the sanctity of his office. He was establishing that God's authority is not to be trifled with. And what happens immediately after the curse is pronounced? The Bible says 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the youths. It's a shocking, brutal, and swift judgment. 2 bears against a large group of young men. This was not a random animal attack. This was a direct, divine response. The specificity of the number, 42, emphasizes that this was a real, historical event, recorded with chilling detail. Now, this is the part of the story where many of us get uncomfortable. It seems disproportionate, even cruel. Why would a loving God allow such a violent end for a group of young people who were, essentially, just running their mouths? This is where we need to look deeper. The lesson here isn't about God having a short temper or getting angry over name-calling. It's about the principle of spiritual authority and the dire consequences of rebellion. Bethel was a center of apostasy, a place that had turned its back on the true God to worship golden calves. This group of youths embodied the city's defiant spirit. Their public mockery of Elisha was a symptom of a much deeper spiritual sickness, a complete rejection of God and his prophets. God was making a statement, not just to those youths, but to the entire nation of Israel. The message was clear: the era of Elijah might be over, but God's power and authority continue through Elisha. Disrespecting God's chosen representative is the same as disrespecting God himself, and that rebellion will not be tolerated. It was a harsh and terrifying lesson, but it was meant to be a wake-up call for a nation spiraling into idolatry. It established Elisha's authority in a way that nothing else could. No one would dare to challenge God's prophet in this manner again. This story forces us to grapple with the holiness and justice of God. It reminds us that our words have power. What might seem like a harmless joke or a casual dismissal to us can be a grave offense in the spiritual realm, especially when directed at the things and people God has set apart. It teaches us about the importance of respect for elders, respect for leaders, and most importantly, respect for God and His authority. It's not a story meant to make us feel warm and fuzzy. It's a story meant to make us think. It's a stark reminder that faith isn't always easy or comfortable. It challenges us to understand that God is not just a God of love and mercy, but also a God of justice and holiness. He is to be revered, not ridiculed. So, what can we take away from this intense narrative today? It's a call to examine our own hearts and our own words. How do we speak about the things of God? Do we treat His church, His servants, and His word with the reverence they deserve? This story from thousands of years ago serves as a powerful warning. Words matter. Respect matters. And there are consequences when we treat the sacred as profane. It's a tough lesson, but one that is vital for understanding the full character of God. Thanks so much for exploring this difficult passage with me. It's stories like these that really push our faith and deepen our understanding. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the scriptures. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.